Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome back in the room and welcome back online to the first afternoon session of this CIVICA Open Science Conference. I'm Liz Stokoe. I'm Professor in the Department of Psychological and Behavioural Sciences. I'm also Associate Vice President for Impact here at LSE. And so obviously for us to have impact to have a benefit outside of the academia, for research to sort of travel more broadly, people need to be able to find it, they need to be able to access it, they need to be able to read it in order for them to act upon it and do something with it. So the conference, including this event, as you all know, just to remind you, is being recorded, so we're hoping that we can share the recordings afterwards. And the format of this session will be a series of 6 lightning talks. So each of our presenters, there's 5 in the room and 1 online, will give a 10-minute lightning talk, followed by 5 minutes of audience Q&A. We aim to finish at 3 so that we can have a break before the next session. And obviously, in terms of the context for this lightning talk panel session, we're going to try and see how open science spans all the different disciplines, practices, applications and settings, and hear representation of those sorts of different fields and domains from us 6 speakers. So first up will be Dr. Irina Dektyarova. Do you want to make your way to the front, Irina? Irina is Assistant Professor in the Educational and Scientific Policy Unit at the Institute of Social Economy and is the Rector's Representative for cooperation with Ukrainian universities in SGH, Warsaw School of Economics. Irina, the floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm really delighted to be here, to be in our CIVICA Open Science community, which we have been building together. Actually, my primary focus in terms of the open science discussion is research integrity. And I remember my one of the first presentations I've given 10 years ago. It was on Print Danger Conference. And actually, the topic was about research integrity and how the system pushes misconduct, research misconduct. From the perspective of early career researchers, where I represented EuroDoc, European Council of Doctoral Candidates and Junior Researchers. And I should say that, unfortunately, 10 years later, we are still here. The situation is getting even worse. The system still pushes misconduct, but unintentionally, because we are living in the era of speed. We like very much speed delivery. We want our orders delivered today or in 2 days. We want our internet be faster. We want our publications be exactly before the research assessment period ends. But it doesn't meet the reality. So we have a lot of different policy agendas established in the European Union. It's just a couple of key documents. And the problem is that each of these beautiful and thoroughly planned, discussed with the academic community documents, policy agendas, it is being done within a separate group of people, within a separate group of professionals. And this deeply progressive, idealistic view of open science in the European Union actually clashes when it meets their reality. So basically, we have 2 main areas where tension arises. That's open science, research integrity, ethics, and all the documents which constitute the European Union agenda here, and the reality which when comes to research assessment and research excellence. Unfortunately, we've been discussed already today a little bit of that. Research assessment still is based on the productivity indicators. It still underestimates qualitative analysis, and it is still based on the competitive rankings and hyper competition of the researchers. And unfortunately, the funding system, it is a part of the research assessment and excellence agenda, is actually based on short grant cycles, 3 years or 2 years grants. That's very short grant cycle. And Of course, we need more alignment here. And here we have beautiful, again, beautiful idea, which is still in progress, which is CARA. By the way, in Poland, we have very progressive CARA Polish national chapter, to which we also belong. And we see how this community of different professionals, actually, that was the idea, to put everybody into the same room on the place. So professionals from GDPR, professionals from artificial intelligence, from research assessment, researchers, publishers, all these groups like similar, the initiatives in the UK, and try together to elaborate the policy and implement it onto the national level. But unfortunately, we are still here. It is not done. So the contradiction actually arises between assessment and excellent dilemmas. But actually, we have, frankly speaking, the blind spot. There is a lack of even quantitative data or qualitative analysis which would show the how the pressure and burnout of researchers, because we are speaking about time, and unfortunately we have only 24 hours, and we researchers, research administrators, librarians, etc., they have their own track of work to do, and how this pressure burnout correlates with hyper competition and actual requirements, especially when we are speaking about the rise of artificial intelligence. And in the era of artificial intelligence, open science become a crucial, really fifth freedom on which we hope the 10th framework program will put it on a completely different level as a level of priority. So there's, again, the policies, each policy, even in the university, like Anna mentioned, that librarians are not dealing with open science in SGH versus School of Economics, and it's terrible. So we want the system, it would be the ideal, we want the system where each kind of professional will contribute to the general vision of this elephant, and only together, by putting together our awareness, our activities, we can build the Lego city, because everyone has just one small piece of Lego, but it is not the whole system. And the reality, as we have the culture, the academic culture, the research culture, the institutional culture, and the culture of senior academics, on which you've discussed on the previous session, it's pretty much values quantitative results, and what matters for junior researchers, for early career researchers, that's metrics, that's formal indicators. And of course, the idea of academic success and research excellence, it is under reconsideration on the European level, and that's good. We have the idea in CARA also to rethink and to reformulate, to switch the focus in the definition of research excellence. But and these two key elements, the culture and excellence and success, they define actually the future career progression, which underestimates any other types of research contributions, types of academic work, etc., like the role of expert in all those circles of the expert teams on the national level, for example. It is not considered, it is not valued in terms of the research assessment. We underestimate the infrastructure gaps, because infrastructure is not just the computer. Infrastructure is a huge investment, financial investment, and also the skills to train researchers. We have a beautiful two reports about skills for researchers and research managers, and we see that it is not possible for researcher or research manager to to be an expert in all those areas. So that's clear that it should be an ecosystem of all those expertise on the institutional level, and they should be coherent one with another. They should communicate one with another, and they should contribute to the general output of the researcher and of the institution as well. But underestimating the time and burnout risks, we see that mental health in academia is one of the during last 5 years, I remember when this issue has been discussed quite widely. And without underestimating these two things, we are really at risk of undermining the open science goals. It is not possible to achieve the goals which are set by the policy agenda. This table is done in my cooperation with Microsoft Copilot. It is not ideal, of course, and the major attention actually it's in the area of research assessment policy. It really undermines every effort of experts and institutions for introduction of the open science, because open science cannot thrive in a research culture, in a system infrastructure which is addicted to speed and completely ignoring time issues. So we actually, in terms of the alignment, there are 4 key areas on which we should proceed together. That's a culture shift to redesign. We have to redesign the definition of academic success. That's also transforms onto the system of training early career researchers, and how we assess, how we award PhD degrees, how we promote, and how we guide the research careers as well. So then robust governance, which needs aligning artificial intelligence in everyday life, system support, and tempo. So I think that the first part on which we should focus is putting everyone together under the one table and discussing how to elaborate the common policy, not separate policy for each of these areas of activities and expertise or open science, but elaborate really coherent, aligned policy starting from the institutional level. Thank you very much.
Stay there, Irina, just in case there are questions. Sorry.
It was fast, sorry. I'm really bad at time.
Well done. Questions. We have some time for questions. And they can be slow questions.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna there is one here. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really enjoyed your presentation, and definitely chimes with what we're seeing as a publisher as well in terms of the increase in research integrity issues. And some of the work that we've been doing recently is looking exactly what you're talking about, whether open science. Oh, I feel like that's gone.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Whether open science principles can help mitigate some of these. Obviously, there's a dual relationship there, and the pressure to publish puts pressure on open science practices. But we were looking at whether kind of introducing open data policies will help to mitigate some of these, whether open peer review. And it's a bit of a mixed picture at the moment. Obviously, transparency is a good thing, but when you're looking at paper mills and we're saying produce data with AI, they could absolutely produce fake data quite easily. There's extra checks you need to go through. I wonder if in your experience you've thought about, some of those, if you have a perspective on whether there is opportunities for open science to help address, to help detect and to help mitigate some of the research integrity components.
Yeah, thank you very much. As in my past academic experience, I was connected to Eurodoc. And in Eurodoc, we actually tried to match these two policy agendas, because first it is policy agenda, and then the concrete actions, concrete recommendations, infrastructure, practices, etc. Open science, research integrity is a part of open science agenda on the European level, starting from 2016, right? So without research integrity, we cannot speak about open science. But we have another angle in this geometric figure. We have triangle now, so it's artificial intelligence. And if we want to use the artificial intelligence in science with a more conscious and responsible way, we have the living guidelines. They are very good. And these living guidelines, they actually combine these two perspectives. It's a very good document, but I'm not sure that it is well known among the researchers, especially among early career researchers. And in era of AI, open science is a critical resource. It's not just willingness, it's a critical resource, because artificial intelligence works and operates with openly accessible information. So more we publish openly, yes, thank you, more we publish openly, it means that more possibility to check the integrity, also because there are a lot of retraction of papers even after a couple of years, right? So that's because and thanks to open science. So if we put all these three main ideas together, AI, now everyone is fascinated with AI. But these two, open science and research integrity, both working together, pushing each other, it's the number one for delivering also reliable and responsible AI use in science.
I think that's probably all we have time for, but thank you for actually a slow and rich response. Thank you very much. Well, our next speaker is on the way to the front. Stuart Johns is a specialist in data production, processing and analysis in social sciences at the French National Centre for Scientific Research. And the floor is yours now.
So, very good. Okay. Hi, my name is Jin. I am a research engineer working at CDSP, so Center for Sociopolitical Data. And I would like to talk about some actions we do in the open science matters. Surprisingly, we have been doing open science since 20 years. One of our missions at CDSP is to facilitate the reuse of surveys and data, both quantitative and qualitative, in social sciences. We are a support and research unit have been set up in 2005. That's why I said since 20 years. We've been set up by Sciences Po and CNRS. There is more of a background story about it, but I'm not building on Wikipedia page, so going on. There are about 25 people working at CDSP. As for me, I'm part of a documentation and dissemination team. So that's what I do. I document and disseminate the data. So there are data managers like me, and also the developers. And also we have a French representative panel. We have the survey specialists and panel managers as also. And so before I talk about the actions of CDSP's own actions, I would like to talk about the French open science policy. So since 2018, French Ministry of the Higher Education and Science have set up a national plan for open science. And now we are at the second one. So these are the 4 axes, and each axe comes with concrete measures, but I am not going to present every one of it. I'm just going to talk about the ones that consider us as CDSP moral. So it is about structuring, sharing, and opening up research data. The aim is to ensure that the data produced by French public research is progressively structured to conform to the FAIR principles. safely reserved and wherever possible, open to all. So basically, the mission is to encourage practices that favor research, data use, and data reuse. And there are actual people working for this national plan, such as, and there is the committee, but also there are colleges and expert groups. Also, this is the list of all the colleges and expert groups, but I am again going to talk about what concerns us the most. So the skills and training. So the colleges and expert groups are permanent bodies made up of experts on the various aspects of the national open science policy. They examine subjects, provide opinions, and provide guidelines and or set up and steer projects. In the skills and training colleges, the aim is to transform practices by developing and enhancing open science skills throughout the careers of students and research professionals, such as support staff and the directors of the research units. So these are the photos of the passport or the guidelines for open science, which is published to support the development of best practices. And now we are going to CDSP sections. So we have a data bank, which is all the données du CDSP, so it's the data bank of CDSP. It's for social science research data. We have a certification of a core trust seal certification since 2023. This certification guarantees that the CDSP has set up a trusted data bank complying with requirements relating to data preservation, security, and quality. We have about 500 data on our data bank. So the graphic, it shows the subjects of the data. We have quantitative, but also qualitative data. They are all pseudonymized or anonymized for the GDPR reasons. But we also have simplified database, which is transformed from the original data sets for the teaching aids. And there is a project that we got a funding. So the French National Research Agency launched a call on the practices and stakes of open science. And at CDSP, we have 2 funded projects, but I'm going to talk about only one because other one I'm not really able to talk about it because I'm not in the project. So the idea is this. Idea of FAIR with DDI is this. Many efforts have been made in recent years to put the FAIR principles into practice. If the first 3 FAIR criteria are now widely explored, R, which is supposed to result from them, is much less so. So we are going to see how to explore more of the R part. This project is, we have 3 work packages, so I'm going to present one by one. So the first work package is an issue of the question, this question: how can you better implement the FAIR principles when it comes to the data we use? So the objective of this work package is to formulate criteria and recommendations that can be put into practice by the larger research communities and that are not just aimed for the curation specialists. And so we have conducted interviews and survey questionnaires, which are under entrapment in analyze. So we would like to write a research paper or article about the recommendation to improve the implementation for the database, and also the data collected for this project will be disseminated as well on the data science group. So the second work package, the objective of our second work package is to create online tutorials on a standard that has proven its impact on reusability aspects the data documentation initiative. So here I think I have to explain a bit about the DDI. So it's data documentation initiative, DDI. It's largely used within social sciences community, and there are also health community and national statistics who use the DDI standard to document the data. And it is also recognized as one of the ISO standard. So DDI is developed by DDI Alliance, and CDSP is an active member of it. There is an annual European DDI Users Conference every first week of December, where we share our experiences or show what we have done with the DDI. And there are also workshops for the beginners. So in this logic, in collaboration with Closer, we have produced and published the guides and exercises to familiarize in DDI in English and French. I think the French one is under translation, but English one is done and it is under translation. And the third work package, the object is to establish a protocol to curation of questionnaire survey metadata using AI and to make a question bank. So collaboration with FSD and Constance Court, we would like to distribute concepts to each questions in the questionnaire survey using ELSST and machine learning. So ELSST, it is a European language social science thesaurus. So there are basically the thesaurus of vocabularies that are a lot used in social sciences. And this is developed by CESTA Consortium of European Social Science Data Archives. Sorry for all the abbreviation. I didn't know there was this much. So with this work package, we would like to facilitate the data curation with providing a harmonized metadata with concepts for each variables. And the request, it is the name of our question bank, and we will also provide put the source code on the GitHub de CDSP. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have time for questions. Yeah, one at the back.
So you mentioned that the FAIR principles,
Yeah.
the first one being findable, accessible, interoperable, and then reusable. And you said that the most problematic bit was the reusable bit. I think that was what you said. Can you tell us why?
Because now I know it's different between countries, but now in France, like with the Open Science National Plan and all, so we have like now people are more familiar with this idea of putting their data in the data repository, like us or in other repositories. But the problem is that compared to the data on the site, are they really all reused? We, as a data bank, as people who run the data bank, that was our question. So we actually did the questionnaire survey and to see like why did you abandon the data reuse, or did you even had an idea of using the data, or why did you abandon? So that was the issue. I didn't. Is it? Yeah.
I just wanted to check.
Yeah.
The self-deposited is technically reusable, but people aren't reusing it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Have another minute. If people would like to follow up on that, or ask something else. Actually, I have a question related to the issue of available to reuse versus actual reuse, and whether there are just some interesting bits of the academy where people think, I don't really want to use somebody else's interview data because I want to ask my own questions. And I've often wondered that about ESRC had quality data where people would submit and upload their interview data, but I'm not convinced that people really reuse it very much. Do you have an insight on that?
So that's actually the point, that's actually the start point of this work package. And it is true that for the qualitative researcher, it is less of an issue of already putting the data in the repositories, but but actually we have, now this is the finished project, but we actually had a project, BKLE, which was to anonymize the qualitative data to facilitate the reuse data, and that is actually the thing that we are working on to facilitate the reuse data. But because because when we did the questionnaire, actually, we asked, why did you reuse the data? And there were a lot of people saying it was for the teaching aids. And so how do we get people to reuse data to, like, the teaching aids is good. I'm not saying that it is bad, but how do we get them to use it for the research matters also? That's the starting point of the work package that we are working on.
Very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up is Natalia Hrsanola, making her way to the stage. Platform. So Natalia is a PhD candidate in business administration at the Central European University in Vienna. And the next 10 minutes are yours.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. Thank you for coming back after the lunch and for staying awake. Yeah, not easy. My name is Natalia. I'm a PhD student at the Central European University in Vienna, and today, I would like to talk a little about my part of my ongoing PhD research project titled "Opening the Black Box of LNG Markets." Okay. So basically, what is my topic about? The LNG, which stands for liquefied natural gas market, is currently a central energy source for the transition in Asia. So the reasons for this project, actually, that the demand is growing in Asia due to industrialization, urbanization, and the growing, the rising electricity consumption. Yeah, but this also at the same time, many countries in South and East Asia are getting highly dependent on the LNG imports. And as you if you follow the news, I'm pretty sure you already know about the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. So basically this demonstrates how this dependency is getting so high, but the countries are getting extremely bad and horrible outcomes in the economy due to the disruption of the LNG imports. So also one major issue here is the price volatility. So basically for LNG market, it exists two types of the buying the LNG. So the first one is a spot here price. So basically you're buying directly from the market, and you have a second type that you are concluding the long-term contracts. So in my project, I actually was trying to collect data for both of these types and to compare. So all of these are leading us precisely to the topic of the energy poverty and the we can see that like in many countries the high import cost can affect the electricity affordability, the public budgets, and all this can lead to the energy poverty. So basically, in this context, the LNG is not simply an energy commodity, but actually it's tied to the development outcomes, to the inequality, and to the geopolitical vulnerability. So, yeah. Second. So, yeah, but despite the LNG getting so much importance and the highlight, the LNG markets still remain remarkably opaque. Like first, the pricing, like I mentioned, like there are two types of the contracts, the long term or the spot. And for both of them, it's extremely hard to get the data. The markets are like so much fragmented that to get one reliable data point, you basically have to search through 10 or 20 different sources. So like it's getting out of hands. Also, these contracts are usually non-transparent. So like basically, it's really hard to get the hands on them as well. And the governance, like again, it's there is no strong multilateral governance for the LNG markets currently. So basically, as a result, with many import-dependent countries, especially in the global south, operate in a structurally disadvantaged environment. So this creates an important and challenge for the energy justice research. So basically, many existing literature suppose that you have an open access to the data, to the assumptions, and like you can run your models and your research, but this is not the case with the LNG. Without the transparency, it's become extremely difficult to access all kinds of the energy justice for these countries. So my argument is that the transparency in energy markets should be understood as a part of the energy justice. So like now I will talk about the project itself. So basically we are trying to build an open scientific platform for the LNG governance, for research, and it should be hopefully fully reproducible data, and we are using the 3 different methods, like I will cover them later, and all this will be in an open access. So the countries are India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and China, where we were choosing due to several reasons. The first one that they all are highly LNG import dependent countries. The second that they all either spot or the long-term contract countries, so we can actually compare. And the third reason is that they also highly diverse in the price volatility outcomes. So it's so basically the main goal of a project is to make LNG governance more transparent, comparable, and accessible for both for researchers, for policy stakeholders, and especially for public. So the methods, methodologically, the project combines several methods, frameworks, and the data sources. So the panel regressions are used to link the price exposure, energy poverty, and fiscal outcomes. Network analysis, this is the latest addition to the project. So we are trying to map the trade dependencies and supplier consideration. And like as I mentioned before, all workflows are designed to be fully reproducible. Yeah. So yeah, through open codes, data sets, and the research assumption. And these are 4 different kind of data, like what we are trying to implement. From my point of view, the hardest one deals is the LNG supply price. Like as I mentioned, the market are highly fragmented, especially for small import. For small important countries in global south. So, and I believe that this project would help to lead more open and reproducible research, like especially in the global south, because we see that there is an inequality, in terms of the global north publications, data languages, versus global south. Okay, so the insights, basically 2 governance models, each of them has its own advantages and disadvantages. But the main message here is that the different pricing and the governance structures create different types of the justice trade-offs. So I'm not here saying that one is better or one is worse. We are just different types of outcomes. So, and as I mentioned, we are trying to make this open for researchers, for policy makers, especially for civil society. I think it's important that the LNG market can be held accountable from the societies as well. Okay, so to conclude, I think with my main message here is I hope that more and more researchers and policy makers will be interested to study global south countries. We hope, me and other researchers, to see more scholarly, more people who are interested in this kind of research. And I'm open to your questions and suggestions. And please feel free to email me, if you want to collaborate or to be part of the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions?
To be holding the mic. Sorry, I wanted to jump in with a question because what I'm really interested in is those specific countries. Obviously, they all have border disputes with each other. So I wondered whether that's something that that plays out in your research, and also they all have very different attitudes in terms of open science, but also in terms of I suppose the way that the governments function in relation to national infrastructure. So those are the kind of 2 slightly linked questions that I wanted to pose you, how that affects the way that you're kind of going about the research, and how that affects the kind of openness of the data can be.
So thank you for your question. So basically, this is one of the biggest challenge, because as you mentioned, each of these country has its own opinion, on what we consider to be open science, open data, and especially as I mentioned with the pricing, it's a very delicate matter, and it's really hard to get a grip on the data. So it's been a lot of hours and weeks with I'm spending to look for them. So basically, the main reason, as I mentioned, these countries were chosen is precisely because of their attitudes toward the openness, toward the governance of the LNG markets, and we are trying to do the comparison between each of them, and also we were able to group them, actually Bangladesh and Pakistan, they go to one group, which are spot markets, and India and China, they are they belong to the long term contracts. So we also able to do the comparison like in between like these big groups as well. Yeah, so like, I hope it's like answering your question.
Thank you very much. I think
Yeah,
that's
thank you so
really
much.
helpful. It sounds like you've got a lot of challenges, but maybe we'll hear back from the project as it progresses.
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, next up is Alex Tajar, who is a researcher and policy analyst currently pursuing a public administration at the Hergeschool. The floor is yours for 10 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here, and I think my presentation would be a good extension of the previous presentation. So I'm Alokita. I'm a student of Executive Masters in Public Administration at the Hergeschool in Berlin. But prior to joining this course, I was working with JPAL South Asia in India as a data science fellow, and large part of my work involved to use the open science, open data to produce research which could be usable for the end users, that is the government and the policy makers. So it was a tough task because we know that a lot of our work sits in the research paper in this repository, but then how it can be utilized by the policymakers for making a good policy. And I would be explaining it with the help of an example of the work that I did in my previous research. So the research was to work with the different departments in climate, agriculture, and health. Those were three very different departments in India who often work in silos, and to get the data from the open repository and then to produce a research which could be utilized with among all of those for bringing solutions at the last mile community. So basically, I'm going to talk about how open science then could be utilized for producing evidence, especially in the complex and big problem we link with the malnutrition, climate, food, and other problems. The research basically started with this problem in mind that there are 673 million people still facing hunger today. And India is among the topmost among those with the high rates of malnutrition. But we already have this data, right? It's available, it's there. A lot of big organizations are working on this, and a lot of data is already available. But then how to use this data to inform the policy and to help them in making some wise decision at the local level. So while I started working on this project, I found out that data is available and it's huge. Like a lot of new techniques related to machine learning, AI, could be used to fetch this data and to interlink and then to produce some vulnerability hotspots or identify some regions where the choices could be made. But this data is often siloed and it's not available in proper manner. Even we talk about the open science, the science related to different policy making settings related to agriculture, climate, or health. These science are often in silos and they are not trying to link with each other. And what can be insights developed out of those to link and then inform? Because we know that problems today are not very single, but it's overlapping problems. And open science can do magic in that, but then we need to utilize open science in a way that could be utilized for that. So while doing this research, I found out that especially in the climate health research, which is very complex, it's not just one. When we talk about climate health research, there are problems related to environment, there are problems related to agriculture, food systems, and then of course, if you go in the developing and undeveloped countries, there are problems related to wash, sanitation, hygiene. So, but there is data available for all of this. And when I talk about data, it's not the qualitative data, but it's more of the administrative open science data, which is available on different websites. But this data is fragmented, like I told previously, it was in very siloed manner. And then again, when you go at the country level, this is available in a very, this data is closed because you can't get access very easily because government administrative data, they are not easily available. They cannot give you because there is privacy issue, there are other issues. But then how can you use your own policy choices and how can you use those only available data to inform that their data can be used in a manner that can be useful for their own government choices. So that was the second problem. And then again, the missing links between these, because once we start working on these data sets, we need to understand what are the workflows to connect this, and who can sit between all of these to inform the choices. So I was someone who was working in between all of these and then trying to inform not just the researchers like us, but also to the policymakers, how can this fragmented data could be linked, and how can the workflows and the different data pipelines out of this open data science and research could be built for their own important outcomes. But then how open science can break the walls between, and we have been talking since the morning, and in the morning, one of the interesting insights that I got from the first session was the social science itself is a process, and there is science involved in the process. I was really intrigued by that. Indeed, there is science involved in this process, because but I think the process is the most important, but how to democratize this process to make it easily understandable to each of the audiences, so they can get something out of it. So during the research, I found out that there is publicly available data sets, geospatial, social, all kind of data sets are available. But are they reproducible, and how can we make them in such a way that it can be used not just by us, but also by the other users? So what this unlocks is that first we need to have transparency. Every step when we're trying to do the analysis should be documented and reviewable. And so in my research, we try to do that. We try to document in such a way that it can be used by all of us as a scientific community, but also in the government settings, and how it could be replicable across the settings, not just in the same region as India, but also in the different settings in the other regions, such as the Pakistan or maybe other global south who share the similar geography. And then how that could be used for the policy impact, for making more evidence for the decision makers, and that could be made in a much faster manner. And again, there is the problem of inclusivity, because when we start working on these research ideas and on the open science, a lot of ideas that you get from this research paper, open science, that is available already, you see that a lot of this does not include the realities of the communities that I was trying to get the data or produce the insights for. So more and more open science, I think now with the way the AI is coming into domain, I think a lot of needs to be we need to have more inclusivity, especially in the low resource settings, so that they deserve the attention that we need for making solutions out of it. So just why I would say that, let's be honest, that open science isn't magic, that it has been available since many years, but when you go to different settings where we talk about open science research and sharing the research with everyone, the main problem is that we as a researcher are not able to communicate with the end users, and the end users, they don't understand what we are doing. And then we need to link between these two. And as someone who has been trained across these settings by the researcher, but also with the policymakers, I feel that one of the main problems is the data quality. We have this metadata chaos. We don't have this agreeable definition. When you start working on it, the collection area, geography, even at the local level, the way data is collected, they don't know how to use this data or how to put it into the domain as open data settings that could be used by all of us. I think we all face problem when we're trying to do this research or run the machine learning or different techniques when you're trying to link the data. And of course, with the coming of the AI can harm also. AI can solve a lot of problems in terms of fetching the data, producing more repository, but at the same time, if it's not sensitive, if there is the reinforcement bias, the microdata, and there is violation of privacy, it can mislead the policy in the coming years. And then we as a scientific community, we need to safeguard that. And last is the data gap persists. We have the data at the national and international level. We do all kind of research, but what's missing now with the coming of the AI and all kind of methods is that to have more robust data at the household level, and to make it more accessible to researchers like us, so that we can inform the policymakers to where to focus on the policy level. For this, I believe that we all know about the FAIR principles, but to make it more aligned with what we are doing, I think first is to make it more findable, to make it more accessible, and then to have the open data protocols, not just as a research community, but also at the local regional level. As a researcher, I believe that if I work in India, I should more advocate towards how to make in the coming years these data sets accessible, clear licenses, because the way different techniques could be used, but at the same time, the privacy and accessibility, these laws should be made more robust. And thirdly is the interoperability of the data sets. We were talking about the energy in the previous presentation. I was amazed to see how this could be linked, but at the same time, with the same idea, I think a lot of research could be made interoperable with the cross data sets and machine readable data, and that could be used for making a lot of practice choices in the policy settings. And then how it could be used reusable in a more democratized manner, not just in the scientific setting, but also in the other settings. So for me, I think for the research, I found that responsible AI should build transparency models, have more bias auditing, and also the community context on which it is operating, and also should be interoperable on within the outputs. So when trying to use AI in the open science settings, I think we should ask for whom it is used and what are the risks involved in the coming future. So the data exists, the tool exists, but we now is the will to open them up in the coming years with the with the coming of the AI, machine learning, and different techniques. Integration of open data is possible. I was able to find out in my research it is reproducible. We need to have more fair and inclusive research when it comes to open access. So as a researcher, what I imagine through my research is that we can use the open data, we can use the open science for good. We can use it to solve many of the problems, not just hunger, but also many other problems existing in the society for better policy, more equitable research. But around this, we need to understand how this open science can flow like light and reaching the place where it needs the most, not just sitting among us, but also to the to whom for this research is done, and making it more responsible, fair, and imagine a future where all of this science could be used for solving the complex and the wicked problem in the society. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Question?
Thank you for the presentation. It was interesting. It is not really a question, but I don't know. I think the European Social Survey, they have a project where they linked the environmental data with the survey questioning data. But I think it's limited to certain cities. I know that was in Paris because we did it in Paris, but and it's only in the European cities, but I think they did it. And with that survey that I heard out there, it was difficult for the metadata because it's different domain, different disciplines. So I think that is why they use the DDI. I'm not an ambassador of DDI, but I think they okay. they have this product DDI CDI for the cross domain. DDI for facilitate the data documentation for the, and I think that is what they use in ESS project. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if it really helps, but I heard that exists.
yeah, interesting. So I've not heard about it. Maybe I will look into it, but there is more interlinkage, like all these interlinkages have been done in other countries also. Welcome is doing a great work in this, and they're trying to make it more interoperable. Yeah.
So the DDI CDI, the aim was to link different data from different issues, and I think the ESS data it is an open access. I don't know if you need to sign up or something, but they have this data portal that where you could check the data itself, and you could explore the data with the graphics, I think. So, but it's only in European countries. So and also like the European countries who participate in ESS, but fewer countries participated in the project with linkage between environmental data and the survey data, but it might help.
We have time for one more question. Someone would like to ask? Actually, I have a question, which is about the comment that you made about open science not just being magic and solving lots of problems. And you also said that the work that you're doing potentially unlocks policy impact. So credible evidence reaches decision makers faster. So I suppose I wondered if you could speculate on whether open science is the same as it being understandable, because of course people might have the information, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to understand it. There are probably some other bits in the chain, aren't there?
When you start working with the policymakers, obviously they don't read the papers or they don't understand about the open science. What they want is to understand how that can be used for them in the day-to-day policy making. So in my work, I use this open science. I can access this open science data or open science and understand what is open science. But then I try to use the same data, same science to how in a way that the policymaker can understand. Basically, changing the communication channel so that they understand how to scale up the different, getting the ideas out of that and then applying in their local settings, and then how to scale up the same idea in their setting. So yes, it's difficult for them to understand. They don't know what is open science, what is this. But as a policy analyst, as someone who works in this settings, it's our work to how to communicate in their own language. So yeah, so that has to be bridged.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think that's all we have time for now. We're going to move on to the next speaker. Thank you very much. We're essentially on the same theme. It's our final speaker who is online, Katya Mayo. I'll just introduce Katya. Hopefully she's there online while Lucy sets her up. Katya is a sociologist specialising in open science, open research, data, and artificial intelligence at the University of Vienna. So maybe Katya's going to give us some hope.
Hello, thank you very much for having me. Can you hear me all fine?
We can hear you.
Great, wonderful.
Floor is yours, Katya.
Yeah, the floor is mine. The slides are not yet mine, but here they are. Great. Thanks so much for having me. Sorry not to be there in person. I think I can directly follow up to Alokita's talk, but I also might emphasize even more what Patricia said before on responsible reuse. So first slide, please. Somebody has to, yeah, perfect, thank you. I was invited today to report a bit from an event. When we organized the Yes, We Are Open event in Berlin last year in March, we started from a simple question. What can responsible AI research learn from open science? But we also started from a simple observation. Open science is central to AI. There would be no AI without open source, open data, not so open data. But even if that is the fact, it is rarely treated as such. So our event was not only about risks, regulation, norms, and licenses or digital sovereignty or topics like that. It was much more about the experience that open science communities have built over the many years of their existence. Practices of transparency, documentation, reproducibility, data stewardship, infrastructure governance, and of course, public accountability. So our starting point was that responsible AI needs precisely such practices, right? And if AI systems are to be assessed, contested, and held accountable, we need documentation standards, traceability, evaluation, access to knowledge, and all these infrastructures that are not entirely controlled by a few companies. So open science should be right at the center of the AI debate in science, right? Because in particular, as I said, there would be no AI at all without all the open worlds around it. Next slide, please. We developed at this event with a lot of people, about more than 130 people, some papers that came out of this discussion, and we formulated a call to action. They are currently being translated to English. You find a machine translation on Zenodo. Sorry, I forgot to put the link there. Anyways, these papers were directed to policymakers, but also the open communities around AI. and science more generally. And there we defined several priorities for publicly funded research and higher education, which I will not go through here in detail because we have heard about some of them already today. I just want to list them here, let them stand there and say that these are all practical priorities. They ask how science, civil society, public institutions, and open knowledge communities can actually contribute to AI in the public interest. But I'm much more interested today in focusing on the tension that also Patricia was talking about. Next slide, please. So, the very same open resources and infrastructures that responsible AI needs, that made AI possible at all, they are increasingly becoming raw material for AI development and under massive pressure of extraction, which was also part of the TDM debate, right? Just before. So open access, open source, public or scraped data sets, repositories, standards, metadata, you name all of our, assets in open science. All these community maintained platforms or science maintained platforms are now absorbed and repurposed at scale. Just because Wikipedia is a topic that comes in the next session, face that Wikipedia today has to fence off more than 2 billion bots a day to keep its infrastructure running. And same goes for all the infrastructures that were built to enable research and education, public knowledge and collaboration. They were definitely not built as free extraction sites for commercial AI. And it's increasingly how they are treated. Many are now overwhelmed by bot traffic, scraping, and therefore new maintenance burdens. And we are seeing more and more human checks where we have to demonstrate that we are human users. But again, the problem is not reuse as such. Reuse is central to science, right? It's a core of science, not only open science. Reuse is science, reuse of knowledge. The problem, as also Patricia said already, is massive automation and asymmetrical reuse. Public and community actors invest in openness, commercial actors extract value. The benefits are privatized while the costs of maintenance, documentation, quality control, and infrastructure remain with the public sector or civil society. Well, some might argue this is a very radical and neoliberal version of open science, but we see that it has come to its limits. Next slide, please. And this was already also mentioned today, we know in open science, this debate is not new. I'm sure all of you in the room remember the repeated tragedy of the commons stories, but in that case, I would say this diagnosis is not right or misleading because the digital commons, as the commons before, were built around a particular promise that infrastructures should support human collaboration, shared knowledge, and public learning. The problem is not that everyone, which would be the tragedy, overuses shared resources equally. The problem is exactly this asymmetrical extraction. Machine-driven traffic, automated scraping, AI-generated content, and large-scale repurposing and encapsulation of knowledge by actors who can actually appropriate open knowledge at industrial scale. Open science has always negotiated these tensions between access, control, and responsibility. Sharing has never meant anything goes. We always had licenses, standards, metadata, ethic reviews, curation, stewardship, right? And at our discussion in Berlin, not even the strongest advocates of AI-ready research data did simply argue for some unrestricted access. So there was agreement that we need to talk more about the conditions of reuse, institutional capacity, reciprocity, and enforcement. We need not less commons, but stronger commons. Next slide, please. So this brings me to nearly my last slide, which are visions of openness to research data that I think we need to explore further. This is a list of best practices that was discussed at the event when we asked people to respond to research security, data closure, dooming AI extraction, and so on and so forth. As you can see, many of these are not typical open science approaches, right? They come from other worlds. They are models of emerging governance options that there are in the AI driven world that we are now facing. And I think open science needs to engage with these more seriously. And I just want to briefly go through them. So first, there is this idea of reciprocal openness, which was mentioned today as well. This, I think, is very much underdeveloped still in open science. We are familiar with things like data citation, recognition, but much less with mechanisms that make large-scale reusers contribute back through levies, paid services, infrastructure funds, or direct support, and so on and so forth. Second, there is public interest open models. We have Diamond Open Access, for example. These models show that openness definitely needs institutional forms, funding models, and public missions. But I think we still need to think harder about how such models could support AI-related knowledge infrastructures. By the way, Switzerland has just founded Public AI Switzerland, which is a Genossenschaft. I have no clue what the English term for that is. It's like a public association, which is running and developing their open LLM. I find that a very interesting model. Third, there is participatory open infrastructures. We have, through citizen science, for example, a lot of experience in co-production, but participation in AI infrastructures, we have still to study. There we have to go further. Governance, standards, evaluation, big topic, public audits, training, decisions. How are we organizing this? Fourth, we have the DSA, the Digital Services Act in Europe, which brings forth legally mandated research access, a regulatory instrument, which is not yet as prominently on the agenda. Somebody has mentioned before access to platform data for social sciences. This is exactly where I think open science communities have to dig deeper. And fifth, and related to the fourth, collaboratories of data. There is really interesting new approaches to people gathering together, building communities, seeing what data they can access, and then also monitor these forms of access over time. And sixth, I think this is the model that we know best, the typical governed access, the most familiar model, especially for sensitive data, data visiting, registered data, health data, whatever, secure research environments. There we can also see that data can remain protected while research access remains possible, accountable, and auditable. So these are not at all established open science routines. Rather, they are models we need to explore, adapt, and connect. And now to the last slide, please. So the final point is simple. It's not just about creating more bureaucracies, for sure not, but it's about using existing regulations and infrastructures better, strengthening further public institutions, and enforcing the rule of law so that openness remains a shared public capacity rather than a free resource for extraction. I see that there are problems with TDM for sure here, but that's to be discussed. So maybe the future task is not so much to be open for AI, but building openness with communities, infrastructures, and publics. And openness then is not just a resource, it's a relationship, responsible. We have heard that already. So I think we are doing in open science already a lot in terms of, and also Quora is actually looking a lot into incentive infrastructures, like to give credit to, build data sets, software, curation infrastructure, and so on and so forth. But I think we do not understand enough that first, we have to understand that in an AI-driven large infrastructure world, it's about maintenance and not so much about innovation. And second, we have to think more about how to make large-scale reusers contribute back to the commons. The event in Berlin triggered several follow-ups. Whoever is interested, I can send out links. And before I end, I want to advertise a book that will be coming out next week with the Open Book Publishers on the politics of open infrastructures. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. We just have 1 minute before our break for a question here.
Excellent talk. Ross Mountain from Arcadia. I was just wondering if you could talk about Wikimedia Enterprise as a solution to some of the problems that Wikipedia has been facing. So Wikimedia Enterprise takes in money from the big AI trading companies like Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Mistral, and Perplexity. They know they're trading on Wikipedia, so they've set up this company on the side to help fund that trading. They provide a commercial service with value-added services, the service level agreements, APIs. Do you think that's a model that academia could follow, treating academic research as a digital public good?
Absolutely. So maybe we'll also talk about this in the next session, but I think first of all, we need to study or monitor very closely how this goes for Wikimedia, right? This enterprise. And second of all, I think we will more and more face the needs of commercial actors that they need quality data. So they will turn more and more to science. And if we don't make the same mistakes with data that we have done with publications, right? Like giving up all our rights to the publishers and they can then sell it to OpenAI for 10 million or whatever. If we don't make that mistake again, then for sure there will have to be models like exactly these public-private partnerships or these kind of new forms of entities, commercial entities.
Thanks very much, Katja, for ending our fantastic series of 6 lightning talks. Maybe we could give all of the speakers a round of applause. And now we have a break and then we can hear what Adam's got to say about dealing with 2 billion bots a day. All I can say is thank goodness there's tea coming up outside. See you outside of the break. Thanks very much to everyone.